What you guys, if you're looking for an insanely powerful mini PC, then this one could be for you. It's the SER4 from Beelink. The specs on it is pretty awesome. It's got a Ryzen 7 4800U, which has 8 cores and 16 threads. The GPU is a Radeon 8 iGPU. The RAM in here has got 32 gigabytes DDR4, 3200 megahertz, and it supports up to 64 gigabytes. The hard drive capacity is 500 gigabytes NVMe drive, and it goes up to 2 terabytes if you want to upgrade. Now, if you're looking for extra storage, you can always add an extra SSD in here. It supports a 2.5-inch drive in here. It does come with Windows 11 on here. It has an Ethernet port on here as well, which is a 1 gigabit Ethernet port. And also the Wi-Fi is 6E, which is the 802.11ax. Bluetooth is 5.0 on here as well. So as you can see, this is a powerful mini PC. This is everything you're going to get in the kit. You're going to get the mini PC, the user manual, some extra screws, a mounting bracket for the back of your monitor, 2 HDMI cables, and your power adapter or power brick, as it's known here, with the barrel connector on the end, if you're living in the UK, that is. So here's the actual device here from Beelink. It's a very nice, well-built mini PC. You've got on the front here, you've got your clear CMOS, 2 USB 3.0 ports, a Type-C connector port here, also headphone input there, and also your power button. On this side, we have some ventilation, and on the rear of the unit, we have another exhaust here. We have also our LAN input, which is our Ethernet input, 2 USB ports on here, and 2 inputs for HDMI, and our DC input here for our power adapter. On the other side, we have more ventilation here, and on the front, we've seen already, there is our mounting holes for our bracket. So a pretty nice, compact little unit. Let's take off the bottom here so we can have a look inside of this so you can see what it looks like. So I've removed the 4 screws to get access to the bottom here, and this is where we can put in an extra hard drive or SSD into here, and this will give us extra storage if we want to. So be careful of that little ribbon cable here that is connected to the motherboard. If you want to take this off, you can remove the little ribbon cable. Here we have our NVMe drive. It's the Intel 660p series. This is from Intel. So a very nice NVMe drive here. 512 gigabytes, which is plenty for this little device. We can always add in more storage if we want it. We can also upgrade this NVMe if we wish. We have 2 sticks of Crucial RAM in here as well, which gives us 32 gigabytes. We can also upgrade this if we wish, but that should be plenty for what most people need. If you dig down further, you can see the awesome cooling system they've got here. This is going to spin up and it's going to dissipate any sort of heat from the GPU and CPU here by getting it out the back. There's also some ventilation on the side here, so it should have plenty adequate cooling on here. So let's run some benchmarks here. I'm going to run Cinebench here so you can see. So we'll take a look at the temperatures for the CPU and the GPU here to see if there's any thermal throttling and or any sort of high temperatures. And you can see the general temperatures are around about 55.8 at current, and you can see it's working away there and keeping the system nice and cool. So that's on the CPU side of things, around about 57.8 now. And what we'll do is we'll go down and have a look at the GPU as well. So it's around about 58 Celsius there. Coming down to the GPU here, you can see it's running at around about 55 Celsius, which isn't too bad, which means we could overclock this a little bit and get a little bit more performance out of this little mini PC. So it's performing pretty well for a little mini PC here. And again, if you want to overclock this, you can do. You can add a bit more wattage on this and get some more performance out of the CPU. And you can even boost the GPU a little bit as well, as long as you don't go too crazy. You can see we're at around about 60.3 Celsius here for the CPU right now. And again, we can take a look at the GPU as well. So just keep an eye out just while we're running this test. And then we'll run a quick overclock test as well. You can see the CPU is not thermal throttling at all, and it's doing pretty well. So a really good result here for this little mini PC. Now, I think you'll be pretty surprised at the performance of this little mini PC because it's so small and you're not expecting it to perform as well as it is. And again, this is the advancements in technology here. So you can see we have no thermal throttling here. So let's take a look at the overall result here for this. And you can see we've got a score of 8,401, which is just under the 1700X. So let's go ahead and run a test on this one here. Now we've overclocked the CPU a little bit here. I haven't touched the GPU. We'll just run the CPU overclocks here. And you can see the temps have climbed up a fair bit to 84 Celsius. It's still safe to run it at this temperature. But again, depending on whether you're an overclocker or not will determine whether you want to overclock. There's still no thermal throttling on the CPU here. The GPU hasn't been touched, but you can bump this up a little bit as well if you wish. So the stock wattage for this is normally 25 watts, and we've bumped it up to 50 watts. And you can see here we're now getting a little bit more toastier inside here. So this is the overclock on here, and you can see we're now getting 10,389, which means we're getting a better score than the 1700X, which is 8,889, and we're getting a better score than the i9 988 QH, which is 9,087. So we're beating both of those CPUs there. But again, we will get a little bit more higher temps, and with these little mini PCs you do have to be a little bit careful. So the Geekbench score here, you can see the single score for the single core scores is 1186, and a multi-core score is 5,671. Let's take a look at 3D Mark's Time Spy. That's 1,426 points, and I've already put this back to the stock settings. I want to do the rest of these benchmarks with stock settings. I only overclocked it just to see what I could get with the CPU. Again, we're going to be playing some 4K content here. You can see perfectly smooth, no problems whatsoever. So if you want to set this up for Plex or something like that, you should be pretty good to go with this little mini PC, and it should play content with no problems whatsoever. Again, gaming, you can play Grand Theft Auto. I didn't touch the GPU overclock here. I did up the CPU a little bit, but I didn't touch the GPU for overclocks. But I know we could probably boost the overclock on the GPU a little bit. I'll probably leave that for another video, and that will probably give us 60 FPS for Grand Theft Auto. But again, it's playable at this sort of specs, and again we are running at 1080p here, which is not too shabby for a mini PC. Anyway, I think that's going to be about it for this video. I'll leave all the links and information in the video description. My name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. What do you think of this little mini PC, and what do you want to see me do with this mini PC? We can do some other videos on this if you wish. Let me know in the comments section down below. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Have a nice day. Bye for now.